Hey guys, I'm Angela and welcome back to Hobby Night. This week I am going to be unboxing the World of Tanks miniatures game starter set for you all. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. So I have the World of Tanks miniature box here for you guys. I was really excited when I saw this coming to the stores and everything because I actually got to preview this game a little bit. Actually, it was almost a year ago now that I think about it, in the before times. And I got to go to a really cool conference where I actually got to meet with a bunch of publishers who were talking about all the new games that they were coming out with. And Gale Force 9 was one of the companies that I actually sat in on their talk and everything because they had a lot of stuff that I was very interested in. If you guys don't know, they recently released the Dune board game, which is super awesome. And that was actually one of the main reasons that I had gone to that one because I had heard about it. I was really excited. But then at the end of the presentation, and for a lengthy time, they talked about World of Tanks, the miniature game, and honestly got me really, really hyped for it. So I'm familiar a little bit with the video game. I've not played it myself, but I've seen stuff from it, and I know that they were working with the team for this, which is really, really cool. I know that they have a ton of expansions planned for it. So if you're familiar with the games and you know how they have like just a ton of tanks in there, eventually they're gonna try to get to all of those. They have a huge lineup so far. This starter set, as you can see, comes with 4 starting tanks. And then we're gonna go ahead and go through and open up this box and see exactly what all is in here. But let's flip it over and now take a look at the actual back. So as you can see, you've got your 4 tanks. We have our T34, our Sherman, our Cromwell, and then our Panzer IV. We've got those 4 tanks. They do come pre-painted. What I think that means is that they pre-primed them. We'll take a look at them once we actually get them out of the box and everything. But I think you could easily add additional paint to these with no problem, but they look really good just in the box. I can't wait to get my hands on them. It's also coming with a rule book, of course, 6 dice for play, 4 tank cards explaining all the details of your tanks, 31 crew, module, and equipment cards, which I assume you'll be attaching to your tank to be able to do things and have abilities and everything like that. We'll look at that when we get into the rules and such. 32 critical damage cards, 2 terrain and token sheets, as well as an online bonus code for new and existing players. So without further ado, let's go ahead and actually get this box open and start taking a look at exactly what is inside of it. And I like that they do this, by the way, this windowed thing that they've started doing on packaging. Like a lot of games have started doing this where you can actually see what you're getting before you get it. And I think that is a fantastic idea. I'm just gonna set the cover to the box over top. So as you can see, everything is in its own little tray. It comes in this nice little plastic thing. We'll go ahead and set that aside. And then we've got our, let me see if I can not struggle to get this out. All right, let's go ahead and get the box out of the way. So we have our, I'm assuming the tokens, the rule book, and all that are gonna be in this. And then we've got our plastic models and our cards. So let's start with, honestly, the thing that I am most excited for, and that is the tanks. So let me get these guys out. They are pretty lightweight. Let me make sure that I'm not blocking my light so you guys can see this. Looks good. Yeah, no, that is a cute little tank. It's got definitely a thinner plastic, but seems pretty durable, honestly. And I think, okay, cool. So this comes off, you can detach it, and it does appear to spin, which I do like. I'm curious if that is actually like facing is going to be a thing in this game or not, and whether or not, you know, you'd have to move this in the game, or if that is just a fun little add-on for what you can do. So this one, I believe, let me get my cards out as well so we can look and see which tanks we have. So I believe, if I remember correctly, this is, yes, this is the Cromwell. So this is your English tank. And we'll go ahead and I'll show you guys this card. So they give you a little bit of history of the tank. It tells you a special rule right up here for, looks like medium tanks. So medium tanks, when shooting, they can re-roll a blank attack dice. So we've got that, and then as I flip it around, and on the back, it looks like we have the stats, as well as the crew. So you've got a commander, a gunner, a driver, a radio operative, and a loader. You have a firepower of 4, a survivability of 1, a mobility of 2, and an initiative of 6, and 4 hit points. So that looks like what you're getting. It is a tier 4 tank. I'm not sure what that means, and it has a cost of 37, so I assume that's what it is to bring into your army.
Tier is from the video game.
Awesome, cool. So the tier then is from the video game. That makes sense, actually. I think I do remember there's a ranking system in that game as well. So yeah, that is our Sherman tank, and it is lovely. I don't know which of these is my favorite. I actually think, let me grab this real quick before I finish that sentence. I think it's the German tank. I do think I like the Panzer the most, just in the shape and everything. But this is the T34, if I'm not mistaken. Oop. It looks like the rest of my cards are stuck to each other. There we go. Because I did show the Cromwell. Yes, I was showing the Cromwell. So we've got him taken care of. This next one is, yes. So we've got our T34 card, also a medium tank, so it has the same reroll ability. Has your little detail here. Wow, that is a lot of vehicles. So let me read this one, because this I did not know they made this many of this tank. Legend of the Soviet Armed Forces, and the most widely produced Soviet tank in World War II, with a total of 33,805 vehicles manufactured. That is a lot of tanks. I mean, it makes sense, but like, good lord. All right. This is the other side of the card, a firepower of 4, survivability of 1, mobility of 3, and also initiative of 6. So the... Oh, actually, I think... Was I showing the Sherman? I may have shown you guys the wrong card, I apologize. But yeah, initiative 6, so that is a high initiative. Here is the Cromwell, because I think I might have accidentally shown you guys the Sherman. I do apologize about that. I didn't realize I had them stuck together. But here's the Cromwell, firepower 4, survivability 1, mobility 3, and initiative of 8. So a much higher initiative than the T34. And the T34 has fewer operatives as well. So it's got a commander gunner, so they combine that one, radio operative, driver, and loader. So fewer people that man the tank. And then just to show you guys one more time, here is our T34 tank. Again, still that sort of cheaper plastic. Not necessarily cheap as in like fragile or anything like that, but it just feels lighter weight than, say, sometimes the Citadel miniatures or anything like that. But honestly, really nice quality, and I do really like the detachability of this. So it's really, really good. Okay, next we have the Sherman, which is our American tank, our fat little tank. It is very cute, actually, but it is kind of chunky. I do love it. So here is the Sherman's card, also a medium tank. Our little detail there. The M4A1 Sherman. Firepower 4, survivability of 1, a mobility of 2, and then an initiative of 6. So it and the Cromwell have the same initiative, also 4 hit points. I believe the T34, yes, had 4 hit points as well. Oh my gosh, our last tank also has 4 hit points. That makes sense. It's a starter box. They're probably going to try to give you relatively like balanced miniatures to be able to play with so that you can learn and everything, which is fantastic. So the Sherman, as you can see, comes with a commander, gunner, driver, radio operative, and loader as well. And yeah, so this is our little Sherman tank. I like the details, honestly, that they have put on a lot of these miniatures. Like the treads are really nicely detailed. They have like just all the guns and everything on there. But like really the treads are kind of what sells it for me. But then again, honestly, this one has a lot of detail on the top where it shows all like the latches and everything like that of where they probably welded the material together and stuff. And it's actually really cool. Like for as small and as simple as these miniatures are, they are quite detailed. And I really like that. And I think, like honestly, because I've been dry brushing so much recently with all the Necron army and everything, I really want to just get a set of just standard army color paints from like Vallejo or something like that and just dry brush these guys and do something very simple, but just to spruce them up and really pop some of this great detail that's on these tanks. Because right now the flat color isn't doing a whole lot for them, but I definitely think with even just a simple dry brush or maybe even a wash honestly. Just throwing a wash on them would make them pop so much more. All right, so now we're on to my favorite tank, just because I like the shape of it the most, honestly. The Panzer IV. Our German tank. We've got our detail here. They wrote the most about the Panzer IV, because I do think it's just one of the more famous ones. It's got a firepower 4, survivability of 1, mobility of 2, and initiative of 5. And you've got a commander, gunner, driver, radio operative, and loader. So they all seem to actually have that, with the exception of, for some reason, and maybe you guys will know and can tell me in the comments, for some reason, the T34 combines the commander and gunner into one role. And I don't understand on a gameplay sense as to why. I'm curious if they'll explain that, or if it'll just be like a thing, then it doesn't actually matter and I'm just thinking into it too much. But here is our Panzer. It is definitely, I think, the most detailed looking of them, in my opinion. Again, I just like it. I think it's a cool little tank. And honestly, I actually like the gray color tone. I know that they did intentionally choose, I think, the appropriate colors for what these tanks would have been, like, because Vallejo partnered with Gale Force 9, if I remember correctly. Later on down the line, they're going to be coming out with, I think, some paint sets specifically for and themed to World of Tanks, because Vallejo likes to do that. They do a whole bunch of them for D&D and stuff, as well as like Flames of War and all of those types of war games. So I think they're going to be doing a line later on that is for World of Tanks specifically, so that you can paint these minis even in more detail and everything like that. But the initial colors are like what you would probably, or what they would suggest as the appropriate color for. So I think that is really cool. It also helps you identify them as a player, especially if you're like me, who up until very recently, tanks are not something that I was very easily able to identify, just because I didn't know exactly what I was looking at and I wasn't sure what differences to look for. But since playing Warhammer, I have learned, and painting tanks and stuff like that, I have gained a really nice appreciation for just how cool our real world tanks really are. And yeah, it's just awesome. Okay, so we've looked at the minis and the cards, showing you guys what those do. We also have in here our pack of what I'm assuming are going to be the, I forget what the back of the box called them, but it's like your deck that you're probably, or the things that you'll attach. This one looks like it's the critical hit deck. So you've got a bunch of cards with some damages on them, lucky hit, lucky hit. These cards are actually quite nice. I didn't mention it for the ones for the tanks, but they're all a really nice laminated, slightly flexible, but pretty durable feeling card. So I definitely think, because you're gonna obviously use this in your game and everything in play, they are gonna get a lot of handling, and this should help prevent wear and tear. I imagine also, honestly, that there's probably, this looks like a either mini Euro or a mini American sized card sleeve size. So you probably can get some card sleeves that will fit these, either from like Mayday Games, Gamegenic, or if you can find them, still the Fantasy Flight ones, but those ones I think are getting discontinued soon. But so we've got a couple of lucky hits, which tends, I imagine, is probably one of your common cards you'll pull. Ammo damage. Discard all ammo, upgrade cards from this tank, +1 damage for each card discarded. Oh, that's not good. Their ammunition rack was hit. Oop, throw in the cards. All right, so we've got several of those. We now have an equipment damaged. Target player discards 1 upgrade card of their choice from this tank. We also have a crew injured. Target player discards 1 crew card on their choice from this tank. So this looks like it's definitely our damage deck. I'm assuming that you shuffle this and will draw from it as critical hits are done, and that kind of stuff, so that'll be cool. Like, I do actually like this as a mechanic for like card draw. It's something that Kingdom Death actually does, and I kind of enjoy it. This tank can only make 1 move per turn, so your engine is damaged. That would suck. We definitely don't want that. And it does look like you're getting about 4 cards per, which makes sense. Oh, actually, no, you're not. So you're not getting 4 per, but they do seem to give you a maximum of 4. And since I think you can play this game up to 4 players, which is assume why they gave you 4 different tanks, that would make sense. You've got turret jammed. This tank gains 1 assault gun rule. Okay. Track destroyed. It can't move anymore. That probably seems bad considering I think movement is a huge deal in this game from what I have gathered. That and shooting, obviously. Bailed out. So 0 damage, and this tank cannot move or shoot. Radio damaged. This tank has 0, I'm assuming scouting. There's like a little binocular symbol, and since we have not learned quite what that is, I'm going to assume it's some sort of like line of sight, maybe, honestly, is probably, or communication, since it's called radio damaged. We've got engine fire. At the end of the repair step, this tank takes 1 damage. If this tank, or if this is this tank's last hit point, then it is immediately destroyed. Ooh, that is unfortunate. There's only 1 of those though, so I guess that's unlikely for you to hopefully get that one. Optics damage. This tank has -2 in its, what was it, its attack. That's not great. Discard after the tank shoots. So you got a couple of those, and then a few more crew stunned, which I think we saw earlier, and I think I might have put them back into my hand. So that is your critical hit deck. We've got our, and I'm not going to read through these ones because I imagine these are going to be a little bit more like unique because these are the crew cards and everything like that. Ooh. Okay, this is interesting. We'll get to this in a second. That one says to open this first. Clearly did not read that and moved on to other things. Hopefully opening these other cards is probably fine. So we've got improved ventilation, a toolbox, a small repair kit, a small first aid kit. I will say, the one thing about these cards, as much as I like that they're laminated, they are a little sticky to each other. So you definitely want, that's why I think it might be good to like potentially sleeve these just because of, you know, durability and everything like that. Large first aid kit, manual fire extinguisher, an automatic fire extinguisher, 100 octane gasoline, remove speed governor, improved engine, improved turret, improved gun, and also improved suspension, improved radio, light APCR shell, heavy APCR shell, nice, and firefighting basics and concealment basics. So that appears to be all of our equipment. I'm curious to see how exactly you will end up attaching this to the tank and everything and how it'll be used. I'm gonna skip opening this quite yet because I want to look at the rules and see what they say this actually is before I actually open it, since I do want to play this game and actually go through it appropriately. So real quick, let's look at our dice because that's the last thing that's in this tray. Then we'll peek at the rules real quick, and then we'll probably open this up because I imagine it's probably not as big of a deal as I'm imagining because this is not a narrative-driven game. And normally when they have these kinds of things, they're narrative-driven, so it just seems weird to me. But we have some black dice. Looks like they're about 12 millimeter. And they have, let's see, 1, 2... Okay, so they have 3 symbols on them. They have a, I'm gonna take these guys away. They have a blank die, what looks like, I'm assuming, a hit. And then I'm guessing, since we have a critical hit deck, I'm assuming this is also a critical hit. So those are our 3 dice. It looks like you've got 1, 2, whoop, did I throw them? Looks like 3 blank sides, 2 hit sides, and 1 critical. And yeah, they do actually all appear to be the same. So that is pretty cool. Let's give them a roll. You know, I got a critical. I'm gonna take that. I'm gonna take that. So let's go ahead and look at our quick reference and get this packet open.
Angela, what is all this?
I might have a problem. I have too many minis to paint and not enough subscribers to encourage me to do it. So don't forget to subscribe, like, and share the videos. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at what's in this packet now so we can take a look at the rules actually and see exactly what we're getting into. Get that right off there. Let's flip it back around. So here's a list of the waves that will be coming out. Like I said, when I was at this conference, they had a bunch of stuff already planned. And this is already an indicator that they are doing that. So it looks like wave 1 does...
Closer to the camera, please.
Sorry about that. So it looks like wave 1 is going to be, you're going to get 1 from basically each of the 4 factions that they have so far. So German, Russian, US, and UK. And it looks like through each wave, you are going to be getting a new tank. And honestly, that's pretty awesome. I have no idea because it doesn't seem to indicate looking at it when exactly these will be coming out, but I'm sure that you can just go to Gale Force 9's website and they'll probably have a whole bunch of information on there. So that is pretty cool. I am looking forward to, okay, real quick before we move past this, I still primarily like the German tanks, I think, the most, followed very much secondarily by the UK tanks. That is, I think, my opinion on which ones I like the most. I don't know which ones I like more between the Russian and the US, honestly. They're pretty equal for me. But this is what you've got to look forward to coming out who knows when. And then on the back side, this is my invite code, so we're gonna just put that over there. All right, so this is our terrain. Now, I don't know if you guys have used it a lot playing Warhammer, if you guys do play that, or even other wargaming, because Gale Force 9 actually makes a whole bunch of really cool terrain pieces. And I like that they've added these flat pieces in here because it just gives you, I assume this is trees from the looks of it. You've got some houses, so probably just something to give you cover and everything like that. And then it looks like we've got another one, which includes a hill, and then three more houses. This also has, okay, so there is one thing that I remember from this game and their discussion of it, and then like one thing that I've seen about this in regards to the tabletop thing. I believe this is probably your most important tool in this entire game, as this is basically how you indicate movement and what direction you're going and all of that. So do they give you 2 of them? Interestingly, they do not give you 2 of them. I actually think that as a 2-player starter set, having 2 of your movement tools actually, especially since you're just doing these really nice, as you can see, it's got a nice sort of thick cardstock, these really nice thick cardboard pieces, I feel like you could have given 2 just to, make it easier for your players to be able to just have an even quicker game, because they say that you can do this in like 30 minutes, which I see is probably true. On top of our movement tool, we also have an advantage marker, as well as some damage tokens, as well as some flags. Are they the same color? Okay, so it's different color on both sides. Are the houses the same on both sides? Yes, they do. Oh no, actually okay, so that is a nice benefit. So it looks like you get technically 6 and then possibly 8, or possibly 8 different houses, although they might repeat themselves on the front and back, who knows. And then on this side, we have some counters, some more damage tokens, and then I don't know what this is. This might be, no, I don't think it's initiative. Maybe these are initiative, but let's go ahead, since we have not too much more to take a look at. Let's take a look at the rulebook, and we're gonna go ahead and open this pack before we actually look at the rulebook. I know I said I'd look at it first, but this is not a narrative-driven game. There can't possibly be spoilers. I just assume, maybe if I can get this open, that this is probably your starting deck of start here, use this to begin, especially if you are unfamiliar with this game. Let me just grab a sharp tool and get my plastic torn a little bit so that I can stop struggling with trying to get this ridiculous plastic stuff. Why would you not just use this? You had this on your other cards. Why would you just not use that? Okay, so open this pack first. Okay, yeah, it looks like it is starting equipment, which makes sense. Man, these cards are very sticky to each other. Camouflage net. binocular telescope. I'm not sure that this is, I mean, it probably is, but like, what? This is cute. I did not know that this was gonna be in here. And what does it do? Repair a radio damage or bail out critical card. Okay. Pudding and tea, guys. You can have some pudding and tea. That's amazing. I wonder if only because it's got the English flag here, I wonder if that means that only the English can use this card. In which case, thematically appropriate and I approve. Large repair kit. Spall liner. 105 octane gasoline. Okay, yeah, it must be because there's a couple of cards actually that have the flags of other countries as well, so they must be specific to that, which makes total sense being a historical or semi-historical war game, because I don't actually think, I think you can do whatever you want with World of Tanks in the video game. Like I know there's campaigns and stuff where you can play through the various like actual battles and everything like that, but I also know it's just a team versus team game if you wanted, or a versus game if you want, and you can just have fun and just, you know, wail on each other with tanks, which who doesn't want to do that? Smooth ride, recon, safe stowage, oop, snapshot, and repair. So this must just be your starting deck. That is a unnecessary card. And they do have numbers on the back. And I'm not 100% sure what that is an indicator of. Because there was there one that had a 8 on it? Yeah, because like I was thinking maybe initially, because they were kind of low end numbers, maybe it had something to do with your die roll, because it also has what I assumed was the critical, like you can kind of see it here. It has the critical symbol. So I didn't know if maybe it was tied to like the number of critical dice that you had, but there's only 6 dice. So you wouldn't be able to get 8. So maybe the rule book will tell us. Let's go ahead and take a look at our rule book. Really great cover. I assume probably from the video game. So make sure we're all on screen. We are indeed. So again, we have our table of contents. We've got our components. Talks about all the various stuff that we've gone over. This lays out exactly how your tank card is laid out, telling you all the various information that you need. I'm not going to go into super huge detail about all of the rules because that would take forever, but I want to flip through all the pages and just see how it's laid out and basically kind of get a gist of what we're going to be looking at for a game with this, because I'm super excited to play. So on the next page, we go over the crew module and upgrade cards, which is that bigger pack that we looked at. Talks about our tokens. So, okay, so those ones that I wasn't sure what the actual symbol was for, those are your movement tokens. We have our damage tokens. We had some destroyed indicators. I thought those were just maybe like additional damage tokens. I guess technically it is because it's just a different type of damage. But so we got our destroyed tokens, our objectives. I'm assuming green and red is to indicate who's claimed them. And then our tank IDs, which I don't know what is for, but I'll read into that more later. We have our World of Tanks measuring arrow and our critical cards. So that is what we were looking at with those things that have the damage on them. Those are your critical cards. And then of course our advantage token. And that helps with initiative, it looks like. So cool. Playing the game. So it goes through the general rules, turn sequence, game setup, gives you some nice example layouts of where, like how the tanks are moving and everything like that, how deployment works. Now we get into our movement phase. So again, nice visual diagrams to indicate this is how it's moving. So like, I do actually like this. This is a really nice way to explain things, because I do like visual aids. Sometimes games rulebooks, oh man, they can be laid out really, really incomprehensibly. And yeah, it just can make getting into games really, really difficult. And I do like to see, especially since, you know, this is a war game and, you know, there's a stereotype with war games and everything like that. This seems really intuitive and very easy to get into. So definitely something you could pick up to play with either young family members and seemingly get into it pretty easily, as well as just introducing somebody who maybe isn't a war gamer, but might be familiar with games and wants to step into a different area of it. This might be a really good game to sort of introduce, because it's still got miniatures, it's still got strategy and movement, there's still some card stuff in there. Still some dice rolling, there's still some RNG. Seems like a good one, honestly. So next up, we've got our shooting phase. So it does look like the rotation does seem to matter, which is kind of cool. Makes it a little bit more complicated, but I do think that's cool. Talks about cover, pull down, in cover, awesome. Line of sight blocking, using your terrain pieces that they provided for you. So when things are in the trees or on the hill or behind the buildings, which is great. Walls, hills, buildings, woods. So yeah, all of those things. Rolling for your attack, defense, creating your defense pool, what happens when you get into close range, as well as side shots. Defending when you're canceling hits, so they go into details about that. Assessing damage. And then you get into your command phase, where you'll have some command special or common special rules and some tank types. It gives you some details about that. And then creating a platoon and building your army, which honestly is pretty cool. So I imagine this will probably expand you out later on into playing larger games where you're maybe having, I don't actually know, and I'll have to obviously look into it a bit more with actually reading this rulebook and everything, but I don't know if it's one of those things of, I know in the video game you are a single tank, and that's all you play as like that, but you may have a squad or anything with you. I wonder if you'll end up having squads. I assume so. It would mean that you'd be able to buy and use more tanks, so why wouldn't you want to have that as both a business industry to like make people buy more things, and also just to be able to provide your players with all of those cool other tanks. What else are you gonna use them for? So creating your platoon, equipping your tank. So this is how you would add all of your modules to your tank and everything to give it benefits. And then we go into actually getting into your very first game now that they've sort of given you your nice setup. This is where they don't use as much visual aid, obviously. They sort of talk you through it, but that makes the rulebook a lot less long and it gives you a brief rundown. And I assume most of the people who are probably picking those up are familiar with war games, so we'll probably get through this pretty well. And then it gives you a couple of different options for some battle modes, which is really cool. I always like when you have, obviously, like, basically, I'm completely blanking on the name of, in tournaments when you have objectives and like specific goals because you're playing a particular type of game, and I've completely forgotten the word for that, but I do like when you get those various modes to play different styles. And you've got your capture the base, assault, and counter, so pretty basic stuff, and then a free-for-all mode. And then on the back, of course, which I imagine is what you'll have when you are just playing and having this around, is your quick reference for turn sequence, movement phase, shooting phase, command phase, and then of course the credits to the game designers and producers. So that has been World of Tanks. Let me grab my little tanks back over here because they are super awesome. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for joining me today. I hope you have enjoyed this unboxing of World of Tanks. I am definitely looking forward to getting to actually read through this rulebook in more detail and maybe actually trying out a game of World of Tanks with my husband. Let me know if you guys are interested in picking this up, if it's something that you guys have been waiting for, because I know I think they announced it a while ago. I can't actually remember when the public announcement happened, because I think I got my announcement prior because I was at the trade show. But I am super hyped to play this. Let me know what you guys thought down in the comments, and I will see you guys next time and on Monday for a brand new, very special painting video that I'm very excited for. I'll see you guys then.